came home from a business trip early to find my wife prepared a meal and wine for her buddy. Our bed was unmade. My husband, a 54-year-old man, and I, a 55-year-old woman married for 31 years, we reside on the west coast of the United States. My firm relocated our little family of 3 children from the East Coast to the West Coast 20 years ago. I've grown in responsibilities over the years, and I'm now the VP of West Coast Operations. I clung to the coattails of a guy who would become my mentor. I took his place as North America VP when he was promoted. He has decided to retire. He has urged me to throw my hat in the ring to succeed him. If I win the job, I'll have to return to the East Coast, where we grew up. We've made a name for ourselves where we are. We are active in the community via the philanthropic operations of my company's foundation and our own personal charities with which we work now that our children are grown and spread throughout the nation. None of them live nearby. Our weekends are frequently filled with activities or trips to visit the children's family. I spoke to my wife about it. She has some reservations about my receiving the job. She is unsure if she wants to uproot everything. We'd be relocating closer to our extended relatives as a result of the relocation. One of our children would be around 200 miles away. This is most likely my last promotion in the firm since, given my age and position presently, there is nowhere else to go. We spoke about it and decided to go forward with the interviews since it wouldn't affect anything. My boss-turned-friend is advocating for me. Many of the board members are familiar to me since they attend charity events in which we participate. Because of the time I've spent here, I've gotten to know the higher management fairly well. I'll say it again, my wife is having a hard time with this. I absolutely understand how she feels. So I went to the interviews this week, flew back east to headquarters, and everything went fine. There are 3 other inside candidates who are also searching outside the organization. I had to persuade them of my worth. They didn't attempt to sell me on the job, so I'm aware that I'm not a sure thing in this situation. Every night, I spoke to my wife. She burst out weeping, saying she didn't want to deprive me of this promotion. We chat when I came home. I knew she was upset because of the relocation, but this was out of character for her. The most recent interview took place on Thursday. I plan to remain and return on Friday. On Thursday, I took a trip back to see what was going on. I got in at 9 p.m., and she was on the sofa with a man I vaguely recognized from some charitable work. There's an empty wine bottle on the table. I inquired as to what was going on. She said that Sam had been over to discuss an upcoming event. When I'm there, it's not uncommon for me to have a drink with a visitor. I go inside the bedroom with my stuff. The bed is undressed. Every morning, we make the bed. It's a habit of doing something every day that I never break. Sam is leaving as I go back out. We kiss farewell, and my wife wonders why I'm home a day early. I moved past her into the kitchen, where there were dishes on the table and pots on the stove. She cooked supper. I inquired as to what was going on here. Oh, I was cooking, so I invited Sam to join me for supper. When I'm gone, my wife will almost never make a whole supper. She inquires once again, "Why are you getting home so early?" She is plainly scared and trembling. I told her I understood she was unhappy about a future relocation and that I wanted to chat to her about it. I then informed her that I believed she should tell me what the heck is going on. She bursts into tears and begins blubbering, something I couldn't figure out. She's a little tipsy from the wine, but she's waking up quickly. She claims that nothing is happening. Why do you think that? I'm normally quite cool. But I lost it this time. You seem to be taking advantage of Sam. Is that what you're saying? She told him to stop shouting and walked into the bedroom, locking the door. So it's now Saturday. She merely came out to get something to eat while I was on the phone and then dashed back to my room. I've invited her to come out and speak with me. I made a pledge not to shout. I know she's dodging, trying to come up with a plausible explanation. Is there anything more I can do? I'm sure I'll need some clothing. I grabbed what I was wearing out of the wash. I'm hoping for a fair response, but with her locked up, I doubt it. My supervisor phoned to tell me that there will be another round of interviews the next week. I'm torn between staying for the wedding and continuing the interviews. I've already canceled on a meal tonight because she won't answer the door. I really don't have somebody to bounce ideas off of. My oldest kid and I are the best of friends, but I can't bring this up with him. Please assist me in thinking clearly. We've reached the conclusion of the narrative. Let's take a look at some of the Reddit comments. One call for comment: Sam informed him that your wife had told him everything. What motivated him to do it? Tell him that if he tells you the truth, you will disseminate the word to his philanthropic organizations, ensuring that he will not appear in any other locations. Find out who his wife is if he's married. Inform her of what you saw. She has a right to know about your marriage. Unless she comes out to speak to you, tell her you're going to call the kids and tell them what you witnessed. She is aware of her guilt. That's why she's afraid to look you in the eyes. Don't speak to Sam, says the commentator. You're not married to Sam, are you? He is not to blame for you breaching your marital vows. Wife is obviously behaving guilty. I believe she will confess. Will you forgive her as she tries to find out how to tell you and come to terms with what it means that you know? Is she willing to work with you or start over where she lives? Her life will alter in any case. I'm sorry to tell that this has most likely been going on for a long time, since being married for so long has provided her with comfort and security. However, your success came at a cost, which might have resulted in some predictability and loneliness for her at some time. And Sam was understanding. She has gotten the best of both worlds, and now she must devise a strategy since the status quo does not seem to be sustainable. Your future is in jeopardy. 22. If you want the marriage to continue, you'll have to devote a significant amount of time to her treatment, which means passing up the promotion/interesting next level of work. When you concentrate on work, the relationship suffers since she isn't able to keep it together for her and for the two of you as she used to. If you don't get the job, you'll have to remain in your hometown with her lover. If she travels with you, she leaves her fare behind, and you'll constantly worry what she's doing while you're at work. While she's thinking about it, you're debating whether or not you'd be happy as a bachelor. In many ways, your marriage has been a positive experience for you. I'd keep the reason for it to myself till she comes to talk with you. Sleep in the guest room, eat out, and consult with an attorney to assess the financial ramifications of a divorce, so that you may make the best option possible. For the time being, you should refrain from speaking with your kid. However, it's clear that you have another confidant who may give you a drink or five, and unless she communicates with you, there's no way for us to know whether or not you should abandon her. When there is deception and infidelity, on the other hand, the destroyed trust takes a long time to repair, as does figuring out what went wrong in the first place. Even if both possibilities are unpleasant, sweeping things under the brush in the hopes that she would eventually select this option is detrimental. Here's what I have to say about the third op statement. What's the deal with coming home so early? Her surprise at your unexpected return meant that she couldn't even appear to be pleased by your return, saying, "I'm so thrilled you're home. Sam is gone in the blink of an eye." As a result, why couldn't they continue the chat about upcoming activities with you over a meal that they had already prepared? Consider the reasons why Sam did not stay for dinner. Better it was meant to be different for you and your partner. She is not pleased at all with the news of your interview for this prestigious position. She has locked herself in her room, away from you, and she hasn't talked to you since Thursday night, when you were at her house. The weekend is finally here. Opie, I apologize for being late for Act I. Nevertheless, it seems that you have sufficient information to make a sensible decision. She had lied and cheated. She had no notion she'd been apprehended, since they knew you'd be back home on Friday rather than Thursday. I have a feeling this was not their first encounter. You've given her far too much time for both of their stories to come together as a result of your actions. There is a conflict in my mind about whether or not I should attend the wedding and continue the interviews. OPI, are you positive that you tied the knot?